Hey guys, today I'm filming a full face of first impressions. I've been doing these monthly for a couple of months now. So what I will be doing is testing out a bunch of different products for the first time today, letting you know my initial thoughts, and then at the end of the month in my monthly favorites and product updates, I will give you my finalized thoughts on these products. That way it is more informative for you. But I did want to ask you what you guys were thinking about these videos. Should I continue doing them, or should I just skip on it? And maybe instead, if you don't really want to see demos, maybe in my monthly makeup basket videos every month, I can just pick out some random products that I'm going to test, and I will still let you know my thoughts on them at the end of the month, but I just won't show you a demo or give you my initial thoughts. It would only be my finalized thoughts. So I am going to have a little poll up here, and it's going to be the options of continue what I'm doing now, which is a monthly first impression and then a monthly recap, or just choose the products in my makeup basket and review them in my monthly favorites and product updates. So I will have those options up here in a poll. Let me know what you guys would prefer seeing. But anyway, I will jump into it and show you guys the items I will be testing out for the first time today. As you can see, I've already done my brows and I have already applied my primer and set it with a shadow. So the products I will be testing out today would be a sample of the Peter Thomas Roth Skin to Die For No Filter Mattifying Primer and Complexion Perfector. I also have a deluxe size sample of this, but I figured I would try this one instead to make sure I actually enjoy the product. Then I actually have two different shades of the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation. I was initially matched to 120, but I do believe that is going to be too peachy pink for me. So I went to a different store a little later and I got the shade 130 instead. Might be a little dark, but it looks more yellow tone. So I'm going to initially go in with 130 and then see what that color looks like, and I'll add in some of 120 if I feel like I need to. I also have the Physicians Formula Butter Collection palette. I purchased this a couple months back, but I hadn't used it yet, waiting to use it in one of these videos. And actually all of these products are new to me. So this is the Butter Bronzer in the shade Deep Bronzer. I figure I can try to use this as a contour, and I'll try it as a bronzer today lightly. Then we have Vintage Rouge Blush, which looks so beautiful, and then two highlighters, Full Moon and Galactic. I will be using Full Moon today. For eyeshadow today, I will be using the Wet n Wild Not a Basic Peach palette. My friend Amanda Alexander sent this to me, and I have yet to try any of the new Wet n Wild eyeshadow, so I'm excited for this one. I also have the Pixi Eye Bright Liner, which is their nude pencil liner meant to brighten up the eye. I also have the Pixi Black Lacquer Lash Primer, so it's a black tinted lash primer. And then for my lip product, I have the NARS Power Matte Lip Pigment in the shade La Freak. This is part of a duo set. So those are all the products I'll be testing out for the first time today, but of course I'll have to add in some other products to get a complete look. So for the primer today, I figured the best way to test this out is to use the Peter Thomas Roth primer on one side of my skin, and then the Ordinary High Adherent Silicone Primer on the other side. And this is a basic silicone primer, except it isn't so slippery. I figured that would be the best way to test out the foundation and the primer, to see how they hold up and really to see if the primer is going to make a difference in the way my makeup wears. So I'm actually going to start with the Ordinary Primer, and I am going to apply this on the left side of my face. I actually really enjoy this product. It just feels really smoothing on the skin, and it isn't as greasy and slippery as the original Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. So now I have my Peter Thomas Roth sample. Whenever I get foil samples like this, instead of ripping off the top, I just cut a little corner. That way it won't make such a mess and I can get out just a little bit of product at a time. Oh, so this actually has a bit of a tint to it. I'm sure once you blend it out in your skin, it will be translucent, but that's interesting. Let's see how it feels. Okay. It's a little thick, but not as sticky as I thought it would feel so far, because most mattifying primers are considerably sticky. So I already am feeling pretty hopeful about this. I at least like the consistency, but we'll see how well it mattifies. I feel like the more I work with it and rub it in, I notice a teensy bit of pilling. Now I have my sample of the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter foundation. I am going to take the shade 130 because I do believe that is going to match me best out of the two options I have here. Oh yeah, this looks super yellow, which is awesome. I'm just going to dot it on my skin with a Q-tip. I am going to blend it out with a brush on the side with the Ordinary primer, and then I'm going to use a sponge on the side with the Peter Thomas Roth primer. So now I'm going to take my Sigma F80 flat top kabuki brush to blend it out. So I'm just going to try to press it into my skin to help give me the most coverage. And even though I do have quite a bit of dots here, the product in each of those dots isn't thick. So I'm not going in with a ton of product initially. I prefer to build up. But it seems to be blending in really easily with a brush, which is nice. I don't have any tugging whatsoever. So here is one layer applied with a brush versus no foundation. So I think it is a good shade match for me. Maybe it's a smidge dark, but I think it's definitely workable, and the really yellow undertone works great for my skin. It's definitely evened out my skin tone overall, and it has covered up some of my redness and freckling, and the consistency of this is pretty thin, which it's not runny, but it's definitely on the thinner side, which I like. I find that consistency is the easiest to work with and really easy to apply with a sponge. So I can't really tell if this oxidized. I just applied this product and this has been on the skin a little bit. So I think it does, because I feel like this looks a little darker and more orange than this part, but if it does oxidize, it's by like half a shade and immediately, which I would rather something oxidize immediately than throughout the day. So now I'm taking my Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge to blend out this side. And this is the side that has the matte primer. I'm definitely having a little bit more trouble blending with the sponge right now. I'm definitely having to push into my skin a little bit more to get the product to move around. I'm sorry for the shadow. I don't think I've mentioned it yet in a video, but I just moved to this new apartment and I'm trying to figure out my lighting. I think I'm gonna have to do some sort of backdrop, and hopefully that will keep the shadow away. But for now, hopefully that won't drive you crazy, but I'm doing the best I can. So here's one layer of foundation applied with a brush versus one layer of foundation applied with a sponge. The coverage is pretty similar, but I do think I have more on the brush side, which is what tends to happen. So now I'm going to go in with a second layer on both sides to see if it is buildable, and I'll show you that final result. Actually, just to make sure it's a primer, I went on this side and I'm going to try the sponge instead of the brush to see if it blends out easier on this side that just has the Ordinary primer. Yeah, that's definitely it. It is blending out so much easier on this side than the sponge did on the side with that matte primer. So here's what it looks like with one layer of foundation applied with a brush and one layer of foundation applied with a sponge on the same side. Definitely built up quite a bit of coverage. I say we have a high medium right now, which looks beautiful. So now I'm going to dot it on this side and I'm going to try to blend it out with a brush on the side with the matte primer. And I think the primer might make it dry a little quicker too, so I am just going to work in sections on my skin, so using the same brush. To press it in and blend it out. Yeah, that is working much better. And it could be because I do already have a base layer of foundation on top of that primer, so that first layer is a little bit of a barrier for this second one. But I think that with that matte primer creates resistance, so I need a brush where I can like dig in a little bit deeper. So here's what 2 layers applied with a brush and a sponge looks like all over. Now that we've done that off camera, I am going to apply my ColourPop No Filter Concealer in the shade Fair 04 under my eyes, and I am going to set my under eyes and my face with the Dermablend Translucent Loose Setting Powder, which is not going to mattify me, give me any color or coverage. It is just going to set my skin. So I will do that and be right back. So now my skin is all set, and This foundation does not set itself, but it also wasn't super tacky, so I didn't feel like I needed to pack on tons of powder to set my makeup. So now for the Butter Collection palette, I'm going to use deep bronzer as both a bronzer and a contour, but I am going to apply a light amount of this. I think it is such a beautiful color, but it isn't deep. And this is a shade that will work for medium skin tone, but not really tan or deep, which is unfortunate. And I hope that Physicians Formula continues to add more shades. And also, these two are permanent products you can buy individually, and these two are limited edition exclusive to this set. And I'm not sure about the bronzer because I didn't have it in my Walmart, which is where this was exclusive to, except for their website. But I know that the blush in this palette is actually darker than the blush you can buy individually, and I much preferred this shade from what I could see in the packaging. So starting with the bronzer, I'm going to apply it as my bronzer in the E3 shape with the e.l.f. stippling brush. So just going to press it into the pan. Do get a little bit of kick up there. It does smell the same as they do in the little individual compacts. It's a little less intense in the palette, which just makes sense with the packaging. So I am gonna lightly apply this because the shade is a little deep for me. In the hollows of my cheeks and up on my temples. And then I'll take a little bit under my jaw, but I try not to do too much because this can look a little messy on me. I put most of the product in the hollow of my cheeks and then up on my forehead. But that blends really easily. I love the butter bronzer. I have the shade bronzer. I already know that I like this formula, but I wasn't sure if the formula would be the same in the palette or from color to color, but the formula seems super duper easy to blend out, and I really do like this color. I am gonna now take it to contour with my Sigma F05 small contour brush, just picking up a little bit of this. So pretty, and it seems a little bit more on the warm side, not too orange or too red, but it is definitely warm, which I quite enjoy, especially for summer. I think it looks really pretty. So now I'll be taking Vintage Rouge blush and applying it with this Walmart HD Angle blush brush. Discontinued this years ago, but Morphe and Sigma both have dupes for these, so I'm gonna pick up some product on my brush. Oh, so pretty. This is really nice and pigmented. So now for the highlighter, I have two different brushes here I'm going to try applying it with. I've never tried the highlighters, but I've heard the consistency is a little bit different and a little bit more cream-like than the bronzer and the blushes are. So on one cheek, I will be using the Morphe M501, and on the other cheek, I'll be using the Real Techniques setting brush. And the highlighter I will be using is Full Moon, which is so pretty. It looks like a white gold color. So taking the Morphe M501, I just dipped it in, rubbed it around a little bit, and it picked up a ton of product, which is nice. And I can smell the scent of this right now, which I like, but if you don't like the scent of this, you obviously won't like this collection. Wow, that is so intense and pretty. I think this is a good color for me. It doesn't look too deep. So now I'm gonna take the Real Techniques brush, and that picked up a good amount of product too. But both of them picked up product really well. You guys won't be able to see it on camera, but I didn't have any kick up with the highlighter, but there are some little brush marks in the product, which just leads me to believe it's a little bit more, yeah, definitely when I swatch it, it feels a little bit more like a cream. It's not a cream, but it definitely has a bit more of a creamy consistency than the bronzer in the blush, but I really love the color of that. So I am really happy with this palette. It also came with a little mini of their body spray, which I have not tried yet, but it smells amazing. It smells slightly similar to the Sol de Janeiro Brazilian Boom Boom Cream, which is nice. So that was part of this little set too. Unfortunately, this was limited edition. I really hope they bring it back because it was a really great price, but I'm very happy with all of those products and how they look on my skin. Dang, that highlight is intense. A lot of times I feel like I can't actually see my highlight on camera, but woo! So now I'm going to zoom you guys in for the eyes. So as I said, I've already primed my eyes and I set the primer under my brow bone and in my crease, but the primer on my eye is still a little bit tacky, and that's just how I prefer. It makes the pigment on my lid stick, and it helps my transition and crease colors blend out better. So we are using the Wet n Wild Not a Basic Peach palette, and I already have an idea in mind of what look I want to do. So I'm going to take this peachy shade, which has a little bit of glitter particles in it. I swatched it and it doesn't look shimmery necessarily, but I will notice the glitter on my eye, but that's okay. I just think this would be a really beautiful transition color. So I'm going to apply it with this Morphe R38 brush. So just picking up some of this. It is, you guys won't be able to see, but it is definitely powdery, but as long as it is pigmented and blends out nicely, that is not something that bothers me. So I'll just windshield wiper motions back and forth right into my crease and above it. That does look nice and pigmented. Ugh, whoa. That does have a, maybe you can tell, that does have a ton of kick up, but picking up a little bit more of this. I like that color, that looks really pretty. So I just swatched the 4 shimmery shades in this palette so you guys can see how they all look, and I have decided which one I'm going to use on my eyes. So in this palette you have these 3 right here that are shimmery and the blue. So here are what these shades look like. This more yellowy gold is definitely the smoothest and the most pigmented. This second shade here is what I'm going to be using. This one feels very chunky, and I'm thinking that's because of the glitter that's in it, but I really like this color. And then these 2 shades here, you really can't see the shimmer very much, and they're not insanely pigmented. They end up looking more like satins than shimmers. As with all of my eye looks, I always use a cream base underneath of my shadows, but for the sake of the video, I will do one eye with and one eye without the cream base. That way you guys can see how pigmented and how well they last on their own. So I'm gonna take the Balm Batter Up Shadow Stick in the shade Curveball, which is just a really pretty coppery color, and I am going to draw it on my lid. So I'm going to start on the eye without the base, and like I said, I'm going to take this color here that's a little bit chunky, but it's so pretty, and I'm going to try to pack it on my lid with my MAC 239 flat shader brush. It is a more natural hair brush, but it packs on color so well, and a lot came off on my brush, which is nice, and I am going to pack it on my lid. Okay, that is one layer of that on its own. Before I do my mascara, I will apply a second layer with my finger, which is something I also do with every eye look. So now I'm going to take the same shade on the same brush and pack it on the eye that has the cream base, and you guys will see how much of a difference that cream bases make. I feel like nobody uses them anymore unless it's like MAC Painterly or Soft Ochre, but colored cream bases make such a difference in the intensity of a shimmery lid shade. Look at the difference. These look like 2 completely different eyeshadows. Which one looks better to you? So next I'm going to take this shade right here from the palette, which is a matte, and I'm going to apply this into my crease with my Morphe R39 brush. This one is quite pigmented, so I'm taking what's left in the brush and running it into the inner part of my crease, and then I'm going to take a little bit of that peach shade again with this brush and apply this on the inner part of my crease to just help those 2 shades blend in together. So I'm going to take this shade MAC 286 Duo Fiber Taper Blending Brush. So this one is kicking up some, but not near as much as the other shades, which is interesting. So just gonna apply this in the outer corner to help deepen up the look. And that did apply just a nice subtle amount, which is nice because I don't like to go too dark, but you can definitely see the difference from this eye to this eye. That just added depth, which I really like. So now the eyeshadow is all complete, but I have a couple more eye products I want to show you. So I am going to be using the Pixi Eye Bright Liner, which is a nude, and this is a mechanical twist up liner. It does twist up and back down. So if it grosses you out and people put things in their water lines, you might just want to skip this. All right, so just applying this in the waterline. I'm just going over a couple times, but that is really pigmented. So if you guys can see a difference here where I've applied it and here where I haven't, It does feel like my eye looks a little bit brighter and a little bit bigger. The next item I'll be trying is the Pixi Lacquer Lash Primer, and this one is tinted black. I'm just going to apply this on one eye and put mascara on top, and on the other eye I'm just going to use mascara. That way I can see if there is an actual visible difference in the way my lashes look. So I'm going to apply the Pixi Lash Primer on this side, and it is a plastic bristle brush. It's very odd. So there's teeth on the bottom and the top, but the sides are flat but have a good amount of product caked on them. So we'll see how that works. So I am just going to run this through my lashes. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how well you guys will be able to see this on camera. And I always get mascara all over my eyeshadow, so I'll brush it off once it's dry. This is a very, very dry formula. So here's what it looks like with lash primer on versus no mascara. So I'm going to be using the Jessie's Girl Dial-A-Lash mascara. This is a wet formula and a plastic bristle brush. So let's see about this. And this mascara on its own is really separating and lengthening. So now I'm just going to do the Jessie's Girl mascara on this eye by itself. And the same thing, just one coat, applying it the same way. So here is what it looks like with lash primer and the Jessie's Girl mascara, and this is a Jessie's Girl mascara on its own. Are you guys noticing much of a difference? I can feel this one a little bit more. The product feels a little bit heavier on my lashes. I do feel much thicker at the base, and I think this side has more volume where this side mostly just has length. I'm just going to stay zoomed in for lips. Why not? I am going to be lining my lips with a ColourPop Lippie pencil in the shade Aquarius. So what I'm using on my lips is the NARS Power Matte Lip Pigment in the shade La Freak. I got this in a duo with the shade American Woman. So this is what the applicator looks like. It's really different. It is like a foamy doe foot applicator, but it looks really stiff and really tiny, but not super pointed or anything. So we'll see how well it applies. Smells like vanilla, which is nice. This is definitely really thin. It's not moussey at all. It's like a liquid. Oh, this color is so beautiful. It's like a light peachy pinky nude. So pretty. So I think that this applicator actually works well with this formula because this is so thin and the applicator is really stiff and tiny. It makes it easy to go around your lip line without getting messy, and it also doesn't hold too much product, which might cause you to apply too much or get too messy. So I think this applicator, where I was kind of confused by it at first, works really well with this formula. It's not feeling sticky or tacky at all right now. It's really comfortable. It doesn't feel dry, but let me see if it transfers. Yeah, I definitely do have transfer on my finger. So I'll wait a little bit, see if it dries down completely or not. So now I have zoomed you out and it's been a little bit, and the lipstick is still transferring, but just a little bit, not bad, and product isn't coming off of my lips. So this doesn't feel like a ColourPop Ultra Satin Lip. That one is a little bit creamier. With this one, I can't rub my lips together, but I like this better because with other liquid lipsticks that do dry down completely and I can technically rub my lips together, sometimes that makes it flake off. So because this isn't completely matte, I can see the lines on my lips, but it doesn't look super dry. And as I said, I can feel a little bit of stick, but it isn't like my lips are sticking together, because that really bothers me. And this is not bothering me at all right now, and it just feels super comfortable. So we'll see how long this wears and how comfortable it feels. I really do like this finished look. I think the products look very, very pretty together. So just to give you some of my initial thoughts, we'll see how the Peter Thomas Roth primer wears. If this doesn't help keep me that matte, then it's not worth using, just because it was tricky to blend out my foundation on top of that, and it did require a brush, but it wasn't impossible. I do like the way the Fenty Beauty foundation looks. It looks pretty flawless on my skin right now. I do think it's a little dark for me, but that shade is really nice in yellow tone. Again, that is 130, and I think that is the most yellow tone shade in the lighter color, so that is the one that's going to work best for me, even if it is a little dark. But I do like the consistency of that one a lot. I love foundations that are a little thinner without being runny, because it's just an easier consistency to work with, especially with a sponge. So I am enjoying that so far, but we'll see how it wears. I really love all of the cheek products. I'm so happy that I got this little kit because I think it's beautiful. I'm so impressed with the highlighter, because as I said, most highlighters don't really show up on me in videos, but I'm really impressed with that palette. The eye brightener and the mascara primer I think worked, but they're not products where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have these. It's basically 2 extra steps that I wouldn't do in my everyday routine, but they aren't difficult and don't take a lot of time, so I wouldn't mind using them. And then lastly, we have the lip product. So far, I love this. The color is beautiful. It is a super comfortable formula, but I'll have to see how well it wears to make up my mind about how much I enjoy this. But I would love it if you guys would let me know if you would like to see a full in-depth review on the NARS Power Matte Lip Pigments. I do have another shade as well. Or if you just want me to give you guys my thoughts in my monthly favorites and product updates for this month. So I'll have a little poll up here. Let me know which you would rather see. So overall, I'm really happy with all these products, and I am quite happy with the final look. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know these tend to be pretty long, but I would love to know your all's thoughts if you have tried out any of these products, and please answer the poll question so I know what you guys would like to see from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.